Welcome to a conversation with Senator Michael Moore. My name's Kevin Byrne. Senator Michael Moore is our state senator representing a whole bunch of communities in central Massachusetts, of which Shrewsbury is the most important. I wasn't going to say the number, Michael, again, because I always mess it up. Eight.
Eight. You've had it right the last several
I got
times.
it right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm always confused. How are you, Michael? Welcome. Welcome
thank
to
you. I'm good. How are you?
downtown Shrewsbury.
Oh, it's nice to be here
It's
again.
right after Memorial Day. It's 77 degrees, says my car on the way down here.
Yeah, we were here.
Do you think it's going to last?
Let's hope. Well, it's going to last until the weekend. Then the weekend will come. It will rain.
It'll rain on the.
I think we're in that. We got that cycle going.
It'll rain on the weekends.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, last week, there was one day it was 80 degrees, and the next day it was 55 degrees.
And Saturday? I think Saturday was nice, and then Sunday.
Whatever,
rain.
but it was a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
Memorial Day, I assume you were on duty.
Yes, I was
Marching?
here in Shrewsbury. Then I was in Worcester.
Worcester. Say it right.
Worcester.
Okay.
So then I was in Worcester, and one other location that I'm blanking out on.
All right. Well, it was a long way. What community? I mean, now, that's when you do when you do the grand tours of Europe. You do 5 countries in 3.5 days, and where am I today? Am I in Belgium? Am I in Poland? Where am I?
Well, actually,
but it's a busy time.
Actually,
right?
it was Shrewsbury, then Worcester, then Worcester. We had the the Veterans Memorial at Green Hill Park,
Okay,
and then the Korean War Memorial at 2 o'clock was at in Worcester.
Wow, good.
So
okay, and it didn't rain. It finally
held
held off.
Thank God.
Really and truly.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was nice.
Graduation. Your kids are young. But
Had a prom. Daughter had a prom.
prom.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So that was nice.
Your daughter had to go to a prom, or your daughter did go to a prom.
My daughter went to 2 proms. She went to her friends, and then she had hers.
My goodness gracious.
Yes.
Okay. This is a
So a lot of excitement.
This is an exciting young lady, I would expect. You also have to share with us what you said just as you come in here with a smile on your face, is that this daughter, who is now 16 and a half, 17?
16 and a half.
Okay.
Yep.
Now has her driver's license.
Yes, she does.
Ta-da.
Yep.
With a picture and the whole
yeah.
shooting match.
Yep.
Okay. And this just happened.
Yeah, Saturday morning. Yeah. So we went down there. She did her test. She was all.
Do they still do the 3-turn? The 3-turn.
Yes. Well, actually, she called me Friday night.
3-point turn. I can remember that.
So I got a call at 8 o'clock Friday night, asking where I was, and can I come get her so she can practice? So it's because she was all nervous about the 3-point turns.
They still do that?
Oh yeah. So we
Okay.
went out. We went out for 2 hours
Okay.
Friday night, and she was all nervous about it. Then
The
Saturday
only thing I
morning.
remember about the driving test is doing the 3-point turn on a hill. Okay, they always used to make sure that you were doing it on a hill. And to this day, every time I make a 3-point turn, I said, I learned that 500 years ago when I was 16 years old. And I can still do it. Everybody else is okay?
Yeah,
Kids
good.
are doing well?
Kids are doing well. My
What's
son's
up
working.
What's up for the summer? You told me your son's
Yeah.
working. He's caddying?
He's caddying. Yeah.
God love him, for Pete's sake. How old is he?
He's 13. He'll be 14.
No kidding.
And actually, this Friday he'll be 14.
My goodness
So
gracious.
he started caddying 2 weeks ago.
There are a few more
Oh,
gray
yes, there's quite a few.
hairs,
Yeah.
Senator, okay?
If I let it grow in like you, there'd be a lot more gray coming in.
Well, this problem is I finally got it to grow in all gray. I did this, I think I told you, I did this a whole bunch of years ago, okay, on a deer. And at that point I had some black hair. I have no black hair at this stage, okay? But it grew in, half gray, half black, and Virginia suggested at one point, I looked like a mature Dalmatian. There were spots of it and the rest of it. Okay. How is everything going under the Golden Dome,
Good.
as we call it? We have a
everything's going.
budget.
Yep. Budget was completed.
Okay.
12 o'clock. No, actually, like 12:30, 1 o'clock Thursday night into Friday morning.
It always winds up to be 1 o'clock.
It's funny. Every year there's a slight deviation on the process, which is going to help
Move it along.
quicker. Then every year it gets down to like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. We're down to those 5 or 6, 7 last amendments that are really controversial.
Right there.
Next thing you know, it's 12:30. We're like, oh, we're breaking. Finally, it's 1 o'clock.
And it finally goes through, really.
Yeah,
truly.
it does.
You've told me some substantial advantages as far as Chapter 70 money, which is the money that comes back to the communities.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of other money comes back to the communities, but that's a big chunk of dough. That's the education
Funding.
aspect
Yeah,
of
the
that.
general education. We increased it by about I want to say $10 or $12 million over the House.
Okay.
And the House was higher than the governor's office. We took circuit breaker, and we actually
Circuit breaker is the special education money.
So we funded that at 75%, which is full funding on the state. The state is supposed to pick up 75% of the funding.
Yep.
So we picked up those two things.
And you've actually gone to the 75%.
Yep, we actually went to 75 now, but the key now is going to the conference committee, because our number is a little higher than the House's.
Okay.
So we have to
Then
work.
we like your numbers better
Yes,
than
we
we
like
like
our
the
numbers
House
better than the
numbers.
House.
Okay.
So
all right.
normally we have a little bit more time to look at the numbers and go a little higher than the House does.
Okay.
So then we actually had some other amendments which I was able to work through that I had filed. Yeah, I'm sure you're aware of everything going on with UMass and Mount Ida.
Yes.
Well, the more the information has come out, it seems like Mount Ida had quite a bit more knowledge of their financial situation going
Over
back
a longer period of
yes, a
time.
longer period of time. So, working with Senator Nick Collins, who's new to the legislature, who's from Boston area,
Yep.
so he would cover the UMass Boston area. Senator Kenya Connor Ives, who's the post-audit chairman. The three of us worked together. We took one of Senator Collins' amendment, and we redrafted it, and we passed language that would require public and private schools to notify the Board of Higher Education of any discussions, written, whether it's oral or written, or communications regarding the transfer, acquisition, merger of any of their programs, land, facilities.
Okay.
And also,
And that didn't exist prior to
that
to
did
this?
not exist.
Okay.
And
'Cause
also,
one of the issues is that this, I gather from what I've read, is that this was just the Mount Ida trustees or directors or whoever they were just kind of exploded and just said, we're closing with not a whole lot of notice. Was
no
that
notice.
accurate?
There was no notice. There was
No.
they were actually, while they were in negotiations with UMass, they were showing the school to prospective students, trying to get them to sign for the.
Ouch.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
there's
And
the
then shut
AG's
it
office
down.
is looking into it. So we did that, and we also had added language requiring, again, public or private schools, upon their first notification of any sort of financial situation,
Difficulty, sure.
or difficulties that
Notify.
that would impact their curriculum or the graduation of the freshman class coming in, that they would have to notify the Board of Higher Education.
Okay, good idea.
So-
Then wasn't that, there was an issue that I read, basically that some of the folks said the merger allegedly with Mount Ida was going to be with UMass Amherst as opposed to UMass
Well,
Boston.
it is actually with UMass
And
Amherst.
the Boston folks were a bit upset about that.
Yeah, what happened was UMass Boston has about $100 million debt issue due to some shoddy work done on a garage that was built.
The construction they've done
Yeah.
over at that campus. The only reason I really know it is Boston College High School is right there. So when I go down to do nostalgia trips, I see what they're doing with it. That campus has exploded, but
Well, the
apparently
goal,
with a lot of debt.
the long-term goal is to make it into more of a residential type
Sure,
setting.
sure. Rather than the Boston commuters.
Right.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, a campus there.
Yeah.
So with UMass Amherst signs the deal for this property that's in Boston, so
Oh,
they
nice.
can have an internship program, but
Right.
which is separate from the UMass Boston campus.
Okay.
We also, as part of this language in this amendment, require UMass Boston that they have to submit UMass, the UMass President's Office, that they have to submit a 5-year strategic plan that the Board of Higher Education has to sign off on.
Okay.
So-
Make sure everything stays cooking.
Yeah,
really
from now
and
on.
truly. Okay.
So,
All right. That's great. It's a great campus over there. And I know from everything I've read that there are financial issues with it.
Yeah.
And that sort of good stuff. But
yeah,
that's,
another issue we did, amendment that I got passed. You've been aware of what's going on with the state police, correct?
Oh, yeah.
We were able to get.
We do know what's going on with the state
We were
police.
able to get an amendment that I worked on that would require the state police to go through state and federal accreditation programs, and this would entail the complete review and redrafting of policies, procedures, training.
Really?
And we've taken a suggestion from the House. They had an amendment regarding this to create a unit from the Inspector General's office right within the state police.
Right.
A separate unit that would be monitoring them.
Sure.
Well, we would take that unit and we empowered them with the responsibility to ensure that when accreditation is achieved, that they would be the in-house compliance unit on these standards.
Okay.
So we did
This
that.
came about primarily because of this overtime
Yes.
stuff that was apparently
Yeah,
going
then
on.
it just snowballed.
For Massport, which is Logan Airport and everything else that involves Massport. Correct. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So you've had kind of a busy time, and you've had your finger in all of this, as we would expect, because that's what you do, right?
We try.
You do. Okay. Let's talk about something else that you've been involved in for a period of time. It's called the Brave Act.
Yes.
Good time. It's Memorial Day. Let's talk about the Brave Act. Tell me about what the Brave Act is and what it does.
Every year, or I should, every legislative session, since I've been in office, the chairs of Ways and Means and the Senate President's office has made sure that we've passed a veterans bill.
Yep.
And every year it's the Brave Act that we do.
Okay.
This one,
This basically relates to services for veterans.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, and also active duty
and military
military
personnel.
folks, okay.
So this legislation designates the 5th day of April as the Gold Star Wives Day, and the last Sunday in September as the Gold Star Mothers and Families Day. There's a provision that actually I had worked on that they included in this. It was a piece of legislation I had filed that I didn't realize when they were drafting it that they were going to put this in there, but it came from a constituent call. And this would help ease some of the cost of housing. The legislation changes the requirement for veterans to receive property tax exemptions from residing in the Commonwealth from 5 years to 2 years. So prior to this, if you moved here, say from Connecticut, you had to wait 5 years before you could apply for this exemption.
Oh,
So based on the call, I got.
So it's a residency requirement.
Yeah,
in
residency requirement. You got to be a resident here for 5 years.
Oh,
We actually changed it. Well, this bill in this is language that I had put in a budget, put in a bill before the legislature to make it 2 years.
Okay.
So they included that in here. The bill also grants paid military leave for those called to duty by the armed forces for up to 40 days for training and operation purposes. It increases the amount a veteran can earn on their property tax exemption for
That's great.
volunteering in their city or town. And it increases the burial expenses paid by the Commonwealth from $2,000 to $4,000.
Great.
Then it has some addresses emergency medical transportation reimbursements, revising veterans court diversion programs, and it updates the veteran bonus program at the state treasurer's office, and provides several studies and analysis regarding higher education, incarceration of veterans, and National Guard recognition.
Great. Okay. All right. Good work. Now, this got through the Senate.
Yes.
Now it has gone over to the House.
Yes.
As we frequently say, what's going to happen in the House? And the answer occasionally is God knows. Okay. Not denigrating the House, but it's a bigger crowd.
It's a bigger crowd. You know, in a lot of the I guess, conflict that we've had with the Senate budget is over the years, the last 10 years that I've been in office. Previously we used to see more legislation being enacted from the House.
Yeah.
And it's actually, over the last 3 years, 4 years. There's a lot going on from our branch to theirs that's not being done. So what's that has resulted in a lot of us who have had bills or policy legislation where it's not moving over there, we're doing amendments to the budget. So this year we had like 1,100 amendments.
How clever.
Yeah, so now, you know, and it makes it harder for Ways and Means. Because now if they have a budget that not only they have to try to fight for the amendments, outside sections that we've gotten in there, and the money, now they've got to, when they're bartering back and forth to the House, they've got all these other outside sections that they got to try to get. So, and one of the things that we've been trying to do for the last several years is the Foundation Budget Review Commission, which is a bipartisan committee that determined that we were underfunding our Chapter 70, which is the school aid to the cities and towns, by about $1 billion.
Oh yeah, that's the other aspect, this whole education issue.
Yeah, so
that's driving cities and towns
that's driving
crazy and driving the community of Shrewsbury.
So
not crazy, but raising substantial concerns about whatever this formula was that was part of the 1993 Education Act. Established some kind of formula as to the funding that goes, the Chapter 70 money that goes back to basically the communities for school education use, correct? Okay.
Now, if you remember, the Education Reform Act in '93 came about because the Commonwealth was sued by many school districts.
Right.
You
were about to be sued by a school district.
Well, Brockton has already filed suit.
Oh, they filed suit?
Yeah, Brockton has filed suit. And there are 50 other school committees across the state that have passed resolutions supporting this.
Okay.
So we have again tried to look at adopting the formula changes.
Okay.
If we can get this through, it would be an increase of about $1 billion, one little over between $1 and $2 billion, $1 and $2 billion for the schools, cities, and towns.
Okay.
So,
you know, what happened in 1993, and I'm old enough to recall that, and I remember our town meetings that I was still banging a gavel there. That was a great accomplishment when that act, you know, finally went through, not easily, with a lot of concern with it. But that's 1993. This is 2018. You know, the numbers that we have now are, the number of kids we have now are different. The number of,
but even the formula that they used
formulas
needed to be updated.
Sure.
There's different demographics that have to be looked at now that we didn't have back then.
Right.
So.
Okay. So hopefully this will help. Knock on wood.
Yeah, we'll see.
Where is that?
Well, so this bill was voted on.
Yeah.
It's Senate Bill 2506. So that has now gone to the House.
Back to the House.
Back to the House.
Not back to the House.
It's sitting in the House.
Going to the House.
It's going to the House. So it's sitting there right now.
Okay.
So we'll see. Hopefully we'll, you know, we've got a health care package sitting over there. We've got a sexual assault bill on college campuses.
Okay.
We've got, I think what else we've got over there sitting there. Well, we got this now. The budget's over there. There's other bills that
We're reasonably confident that Hannah Kane, who was our state representative, who is a very pro education person, okay, would want to be helpful with reference to this, and probably is being helpful with this. But there's 160 of them over there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes with their own agendas. Okay. One other thing.
Oh, actually, I should say in the budget too, since you mentioned Representative Kane. Her and I worked together in the budget where...
You and Hannah.
Yes, where in the House, she ended up getting funding for Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services.
Oh, yeah.
Some funding for them.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that's a great program.
Yeah, so we get the fight for certain earmarks in our district.
Yeah. So
she was able to get that in the House budget.
Yeah.
So rather than going for the same thing in the Senate budget, I actually put in language to get money for the town of Shrewsbury for the study, a feasibility study, relative to their EMS radio system.
Oh,
And so,
okay.
and I was able to get that. So now if we're both successful and able to keeping that in the conference committee,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be able to provide funding to Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services and to the town police and fire for your emergency
Well, that's
services.
great.
Yeah.
All right. Good for you. Good to both of you, really.
Yeah,
truly.
no, it's nice having someone.
It is nice. It is nice to hear that a Democrat and a Republican can work together.
Yep. Yeah.
If we could only raise that to the federal level,
That would be nice.
Senator, wouldn't it be nice?
Yes.
Not that, we're at the stage that getting them to work together on legislation is not only difficult, getting them to talk to each other seems to be a bit of a problem, but
Yeah.
that's a discussion for another time, okay? Another issue that candidly Massachusetts has taken kind of a forward step on is all of this craziness, about, credit protection,
Yes.
all right? We all know that a while ago, the three major credit, whatever they're calling, credit determination companies,
Yeah.
got hacked.
Yep.
And I remember seeing the number, and the number was millions and millions and millions of people's information somehow went somewhere, and I'm not together sure I ever heard that they determined where it went, okay? Massachusetts has taken some action. Tell me about it.
Well, a bill was passed dealing with credit card protection. And what this does, it's designed to protect the personal information of consumers in the case of data breaches, like the one at Equifax.
Sure.
The bill helps consumers protect their information before, during, and after the security breach. It ways for providing free credit card freezes on all consumers and creating an online one-stop shop portal so that consumers can freeze and unfreeze their credit at all three main bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, in one place, providing 5 years of free credit monitoring for consumers whose information was part of a credit reporting
And this
agency.
is a Massachusetts law.
This is Massachusetts,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And empowering.
Realizing this was a national issue.
Yeah, this was national
Okay.
issue, but this would be the responsibility of the credit card, these credit agencies operating here in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
So they would have to follow this.
Okay.
So actually, no, it's
Myra Healy, the AG, was active in that as well, if I remember correctly, wasn't she?
I think overall in the data breaches, yes.
Okay.
So this is something I think Massachusetts moves forward in. I think you'll gradually see more states and taking up these issues, and federally they're going to have to update the federal requirements on this because obviously it's whatever's being done isn't working.
It's absolutely frightening when you. I can remember I never paid much attention to it until I had a secretary, I had my secretary paralegal Kelly Ennis, who lives in Grafton, who is one of your constituents in Grafton, who said, "Have you ever done a credit check?" I said, "No, I really never had." Okay, and I did it, and I was intrigued about the amount of information, Mike, that they had. I mean, they knew everything about what I owned, what I owed in the past, all of this stuff, all of which they obtained somehow without asking me. Is it okay if we do this? I mean, I know if you go to a bank and you say, I want a mortgage, the bank will say, you gotta fill out, all of this credit information form about what you owe, what you make, all that sort of good stuff, how much money you spend on the children, which is probably more than we should, and that sort of good stuff. But to know that there were national agencies that basically had somehow obtained all of this bloody information, and that somehow it was conceivably now in the hands of people to do whatever with it. It's kind of scary. It really truly is. I finally have reached that stage of saying, there's no such thing as privacy anymore.
Every time I go to the bank, they keep telling me they want to I should go to online, and to the online services,
Yeah.
I won't do it.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they keep, oh, we're not going to get hacked. I'm sure every one of these other agencies have said the same thing.
This will never happen, huh?
Yep.
For Pete's sake, son of a gun. What's up for the summer?
Well, we still have a lot more to do
Okay.
in the legislature.
Budget. We are now about to start, July 1st, we're about to start fiscal 2019?
19.
19.
Because we're 18 now, so 19.
And as I hope everybody knows, and if they don't, we're just about to tell them, is that Massachusetts is on not a fiscal, not a
fiscal year.
calendar year. We're on a fiscal year, so that the fiscal year is July 1 of 2018 through June 30th, 2019. Okay, correct. So that when we're talking about
And federal
this
is
budget, and then the federal manages to mess it up even more because
I don't even think they've done a
April
budget
or
in the last.
something.
Oh no, they're was it October 1st to September 30th?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
all right, all
so then you get the towns, which follow the same fiscal year as the state.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But then the feds are on some other level and the rest of it.
So and then we have the Democratic Convention this weekend coming
Oh
up.
my
in Worcester.
goodness!
Yeah.
I forgot about this. Is coming up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay. All right.
it will
Where?
be,
Here?
yeah, the DCO Center. So.
Right. Was this done well? I mean, they had the Republican convention. Now they're having the Democratic convention. It's at the DCU Center, correct? Okay.
You know, if you and I guess
And we got a lot more space for them in Worcester now because
more space, more
there's
hotels.
There's a few more hotel rooms that are kicking
And
around.
the benefit to Worcester is that we're much cheaper than Boston, and we have more hotel space than Lowell or Springfield.
Sure.
So we're the perfect demographic to hold this.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with reference to the gubernatorial campaign. We've got a couple of
Yeah.
we've got a couple of potential candidates running against Charles Baker, who seems to still be up there in the polls, Michael.
Yep.
Really and truly, you know.
Yeah.
Going to be hard. But all the other constitutional offices, they're all Democrat, right, at the moment.
I think
don't
so.
know that there's any Republicans that are in
And
there,
they've
other
all-
than the
they've all-
governor and the lieutenant governor. We've got Karen Polito from
Yeah.
Shrewsbury. And
And
we've
they've
the
all got
governor.
opponents.
Huh?
I think they've all got opponents.
I expect they
on the
probably.
on the primary side at least. I'm not even. I think maybe on both.
Right,
So.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting election year. Then we have a lot of referendums on the ballot. I came away from a meeting this morning with one of the couple of small businesses in Millbury
What?
regarding the minimum wage and the pay,
Oh, the 15,
and the paid leave.
alleged $15 minimum wage.
Yeah. So
Okay, and that's going to be a petition article.
that's a referendum. Now, right now we have until July 2nd for the legislature and the proponents and opponents to work out a compromise. So if we can't work it out by July 2nd, then it moves on to the ballot.
Okay.
So I know they're working diligently trying to find a compromise so that to make the business community. And
Oh, okay. So there's still an issue as to whether that will be a
It's-
so-called petition.
Yeah, right
article.
now it's if both parties, if all three parties don't come to an agreement, it's
Now,
definitely
when you're
on
saying three parties, what are you saying?
the opponents, the proponents, the opponents, and then the advocates.
Advocate.
So
okay.
So what you could have there's several groups from the business community, like the
Okay.
association.
So hopefully that's all going to
Yep.
maybe work itself out, and if it doesn't, then we're back to putting out a little
Fill in a little dot,
in the circle.
as
okay?
long as it's not been hacked.
Mike, yeah, that's right. Michael.
Yes.
It's been a joy. It's been a while since we've done this. I know you and I had trouble kind of finding each other for a period of time.
It's a busy time.
Busy kind of time of year, but we're back, and we're going to keep track of this all summer long. So we'll be doing another program very, very shortly.
Sounds
And
good.
For all of you folks at home, please join us the next time.